here with Create Life Paper Words, and I have a very fun mini album that I'm sharing with you. I went on a trip to Los Angeles and then San Diego with my sister and my cousin about 2 weeks ago now. And so I'm just working on the mini album for my travel trip. So if you haven't ever followed along with my YouTube account before, you'll find that I absolutely love doing 6x8s for travel albums. So I was really hoping to get a binder that was 2 inches. The problem is that I had to order one, and with the cost to ship it, it was just going to be a lot of money. So I've decided to actually split it into 2 different albums. So the first part of my album is going to be LA, and I'm working on just the first day right now. And so that's what this whole process video is about, is the first day of my travel. So that would have been February 10th of this year. And then the second part is going to be about the San Diego part of the trip. Now, the reason I am doing that is because the second day we were in LA, we went to Universal Studios. And I am a huge Harry Potter fan, so I took a lot of pictures. And so I know that there's no way I'm going to be able to fit all of the photos in a standard size 6x8 album. I know it's not going to happen with how many photos that I took. So that's the reason that I'm splitting everything up. So right now I'm just working on my title page. It is being titled LA, and then beneath that I have the date. So it's February 10th to 12th. When I do a title page for my second album, it'll be San Diego, and then it'll have the exact same so it'll look the exact same, and then underneath it'll be the dates. So it'll be February 12th to 15th. So I decided to go with a clear with some copper script page, what is it called, and like a acetate piece, and I'm adding just a couple little stars onto that, and those stars are from Colorcast Designs. And now I am just starting to work on the first day. So the first day we were there, we flew from Calgary to LAX, and we got in about 1:30 LA time, and then we got a rental car and we drove up to Camarillo for their outlet malls. We specifically had to go to that one because my sister wanted to visit the Lululemon outlet there. And then we were there till probably like 9 o'clock. And then we decided to do Target that day. And then we drove back to Long Beach. So it was a very, very long day. I did not get any sleep the night before that because I was so excited about this trip that I just could not sleep. And then, of course, we were up early to get to the airport and everything. So it was a very, very long day. But, you know, that's what happens when you go on trips. I haven't really been on a relaxing type of trip in a couple years now. And I have to say, I like both. So I enjoy the relaxing trips, but I also really like the trips where you're busy doing stuff. And that's what this trip was. It was a busy doing stuff type trip. We did a lot of walking, to the point where the first day I ended up getting new shoes because they were really, the ones I brought were really bothering my feet. So, you know what, though, I'm just thinking of this now. I threw those shoes out, and I should have taken a picture of them. Now I can't believe I forgot to do that. But one of the things I always like to keep are my tickets stubs. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I love to always keep. So I always make sure I print them out so that I have them. And I always like to put them in my album. I know my sister and my cousin kept a lot of memorabilia for me, and I really appreciated that. I always like to have a lot of memorabilia come home with me so that when I do my albums, I can create from that. I picked up a Studio Calico kit on their $10 kit sales a couple weeks ago. I think it was the October one. And then I was thinking that some of these colors might be nice and light and go with my albums. So I did find a couple that I liked and I thought would go. And just adding a little bit of accents, this cute little plain wood veneer to Yes Weekend. That card, I love that one. And then bringing out the stamps. I love stamps, and I really wanted to make sure I used a lot of stamps in this album. So this one stamp that I'm going to be using is I believe it's a Kelly Purkey for Studio Calico one. I've had it for a while, and I love it because it's a travel one. So it's got like a document stamp, and then it's got a couple main airports, and LAX is actually one of them on there. So I did use that. And it's really fun one to layer. It looks like, passports and that kind of stuff. So I always bring the stamp set out when I'm doing any type of travel album where we flew. And I'm probably going to use it on the end pages as well when I have our flying back. So I decided to go with StazOn. It's just easier just for me to keep one ink out. So I just grabbed my StazOn, and that'll probably be with me through the whole album here. I did end up having to re-ink it at the beginning, so it should be good to go. And then I just put a little bit of stamps on that one picture of my sister, my cousin, and I. And that was us at the airport right before we had breakfast, and we all just sort of met up together at that point in time. And then this is our arm parties selfies. So this is us on the airplane, the little top photo there. I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to back it or if I'm going to just put it on the back of the photo, or if I'm going to go with white, or what I'm going to do. White almost seemed a little too stark for me. I needed something else. So I found this blue card because it's got like go and do, that kind of stuff. But I found that was just a little too dark. So I need something in the middle. I start looking through, so I leave it for a minute, go on to something else, and then I have an idea. So I end up grabbing this Felicity Jane stamp set, and I cannot remember which one it is. It's from one of her older kits, and I decide to take this little hexagon, no, I can't remember, 6 sides, whatever one of those is. I can't remember now. Anyways, I take this stamp and I go and I just stamp in lines is all I do. And then there's a solid one, and I just stamp a couple of those in the 3. And I just like that. It's a little bit of a background design, but it's not too bold and it's not too dark as well. So just adds a little bit of color to it. And then as I'm going through, I remember that I wanted to put in this picture I have of myself holding my passport. So I just flip a couple things around. It works out really well for me, actually, that I end up flipping those around. And I really like how on that first page it doesn't have just one picture, it's got the 2 pictures and then the plane ticket on there. So I feel like it flows a little bit better. I do use the Yes Weekend one. And I have that on the other side where we're actually on the airplane and we have our pictures at that point in time. I add just a little tiny bit of stamping on here. What I ended up doing is a little tiny circle and in white. So I stamped that in white, let it dry for a second. And then I take my little airplane and I just put it right over top. At first I had done just the little airplane. You couldn't see it really well, so that's why I changed it up. So this way you can see it a little bit more. I did a little tiny star stamp, and that was from a new Kelly Purkey one I got. It was, I believe, her Los Angeles one. And this is the first time I've used it. I got it specifically for this trip, as I knew, I think it was in November with her release, and she had that Harry Potter one. I got it at the same time as that because I knew I'd want to use the Harry Potter one. At that point in time, we had already booked our ticket. So see, I've got that Yes Weekend one there. I've got the one of my sister and my cousin to the right of that. And then I decide that I'm going to do a 3x8. And I love 3x8. So thank you to Allie Edwards for introducing the 3x8. And instead of doing journaling, though, I'm going to do two journaling cards on top of each other. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do on the back side of it. I don't have any more pictures of the airplane. So I decide to bring out these cards that they're digital cards that I had bought from Christine Heron. I think it was last week. And I had just printed them out, and I knew that they'd go really well with this book that I've been working on. This is also another little digital from her as well. And again, I printed it out, and so I was going to close it up, and then I thought, oh, it'd be cute to have a little tab on there. So I was just going through to find my little tabs. This one happens to be from one of the Felicity Jane kits. I'm going to fold that up, and I'm going to stick it in there. So this one is going to be on its own. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I like a little bit of texture, and I like different sizes when you're flipping through my mini albums. I don't want everything to be the same in a 6x8 page protector. I like to have things out, so that's the whole idea behind this, is just giving it a little bit more texture to the album. And I do a little bit of journaling on that. I can't quite remember what that little card says, but I did take photos of everything, so you can probably see it in the stills. I did have a little bit of trouble because this only has 2 rings, figuring out how I was going to get it in there, because it was just like slightly too small. So I should have cut it a bit bigger. Good to know for next time. It's one of those things. So I end up sort of making like little gold reinforcements almost, just to hold it in there. So it works. You know, that's all that you're usually worried about, is that it works. So after I finish up that 4x4 card with the holes punched into it so I can slip it in my book, I move on to these cards right here, also from Christine Heron. They have Go on them. There's another 2 that come in the set, and 2 of them say walk and 2 of them say eat. So I will be using those later on, and I will likely also print off another set so that I have extras, because I know that I'll also use them when I am in my San Diego book as well. So just a little bit of journaling about our plane ride and how we arrived. It was a really good plane ride, and that's pretty much all I had put on there when we got in, and I think who we flew with or where we flew to. But I always like to document those little details as well. And then all I did was I stuck them and attached them onto the 3x8 other side that I had done before. And then I just, attach them and stick them into the pocket, and decide that I needed to add just a little bit more onto this card right here. So I just go around with my pen. I go around it twice. I just like how the really messy look looks on those ones. Next, we went shopping, and so I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I don't have a lot of pictures of us shopping. I have the one from the Coach store, and then I also have my bag from my purchase from Seven for All Mankind. So I have those 2 things, and I'm trying to figure out how to fit them in so that on the other side it also works out. So I do a little bit of playing around here, seeing what page protectors I have. Sometimes I don't have the right page protectors, but I did know that I was having this album coming, so I made sure that I had bought a couple extra packages so I would have those options. I must really like that one card right there, that teal one with the blue on it, because I keep trying to use it. So hopefully I am able to use it at some point in this album process. I end up thinking that this is how I want everything to look, so I attach the card to the back of the photo. And then I start working on the other side of that. So you know there's always the 2 sides. So sometimes that can be difficult when you're working with different size photos, and sometimes you really have to be creative in how you do this. So I start stamping Coach on there. That was the wallet at the Coach store, and I absolutely love their merchandising at the Coach store because it's all nice and bright and colorful. So I had taken a picture of it, and I actually knew exactly what I wanted to do with that photo when I took the photo of it. So that was an easy one to do. Those alphas are some clear stamps from Kelly Stamps from last year. I want to say it's the Stand Tall ones, and I love them. I use them quite a bit. And then I do a little label, and again, I think this is a Kelly Stamps label. Yes, it's actually from one of her Christmas stamp sets. And so it's got the little label, and then I put shopping on there. The only issue is that the bag from that I had cut out into a 4x6 page or card, it is really shiny, and so it didn't dry properly, and so it started to smudge a bit. So I do deal with that after I finish this side off. As I'm trying to find a card for this this spot beside my sister, I find these cards that I love, and I bought them from, I think they were One Little Bird ones, and I can't think of it. They're like a trip type of one, Wanderlust or something like that. And I really love them, but I haven't used them very much, so I was really happy to find them and say, oh, like these will go. So I wanted to do like the look of a target, like the bullseye on the target sign. And so I had to do a couple practices and had to go through my stamps to figure out how I was going to do that. But I just used some ink and my stamps, and it worked out really well. As I'm doing that, I get an idea for this other side that I wasn't really sure what to do. So what I did is I ended up getting out my Polaroid printer, my little tiny one, and it only does like a 2x3. And so I printed off like a map of our trip into the Camarillo. And so I did a screenshot of that, printed it off, and added it to just a piece of plain white cardstock. That's all I did. And then I decided to do Camarillo, so that's what I'm doing right now with these alphas. These alphas are from, I can't even remember what kit club, probably from in the fall. And they worked out pretty good, except I needed an I and an L. So for me, that's fairly good that those are the only two letters that I need, and I didn't have to try and figure it out. Doing it this way actually really helped out a bit, because I think it looks a little bit better than how I'd had it before. I did have to undo the two photos that I had stuck together, but that's okay. So I also add a flap to this one right here, and then I can do some journaling on the other side of the Seven for All Mankind card that I cut out from my bag. And all I did for journaling is I just wrote about how we picked up a rental car, and then it took us about 2 hours with traffic to get to the outlet malls, and how Lindsay was really excited that we got to go to Lululemon, and I was really excited because I got to do some shopping without kids, and that we had a lot of fun and that kind of stuff. So as I was doing that, I realized the smudging on this card, so what I did is I ended up just putting it right onto some white cardstock. As I was doing that, I thought, oh, that would be fun, and I stamped Joy in the yellow, and then over top of Joy I stamped Shopping, and so it just gives it a little bit of a different look, and I really like how it looked better than just having stamped Shopping in the label right onto that card. And then I just fussy cut it out and then adhere it. So I really like how it looks. It's, a very simple card, but it works really well. So then to attach that, all I do is I grab some washi. I tend to like to use the same washi throughout the book, and I tend to like it fairly neutral. So I will be making sure that I use this washi for the rest of my album where I can. And then I'm going through my pictures, and this is funny. I end up so I'm working on my photos from In-N-Out Burger, and I realize that I have another picture that actually needs to go, yeah, right there, see? Yeah. So I do another flap, and I put that picture in, and I think I did just a little, I just did a little bit of journaling. It just says matching runners, because we were all trying on the same runners and we thought it was funny. And then again, I grabbed some tape and used this as a flip up pocket as well. So really easy to do when you find that you have photos and you've already done something and like how it looks, there's lots of different ways that you can put them in and try and work with them. So I do a little bit of journaling into this little tiny circle. Again, this little circle card is from that One Little Bird set. That's the same as the Yes This photo on the left, or sorry, Yes This card on the left side. I'm working on this In-N-Out burger spread. So I live in Canada and we don't have an In-N-Out burger. I don't think in Canada, at least I haven't seen them. And so my sister loves them and my cousin loves them, and so they were really excited to go to them, and I'm like, well, I've never been to one. And so they were even more excited when they found out I hadn't been to one, so that they could take me to one. And so I ended up really liking it, but they like photoed me eating and we had to take the food picture. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think I even had another burger maybe 2 days later, because I liked it quite a bit. So now I'm just going back through. I'm happy with how that looks. So I'm just going back through and seeing, do I need to add anything? I felt this photo needed a little bit of something more. So you probably can't see it, but we were at Target and we found this bottle of wine, and it's called Middle Sister, which is funny because my sister is the middle child, and it just sort of suited her. So I put a little caption on that, and the story behind the photo, and then the arrow pointing down. So super cute picture. And here you go. So thank you so much for watching. This is just day 1 of my part 1 album for my trip. So if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. You can also find me on Instagram at Create Life Paper Words, and I hope that you will subscribe to me. Thank you, and bye.